Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna.
Welcome to our journey into the timeless wisdom of Bhagavad Gita. In this sacred conversation, Sri Krishna guides Arjuna through confusion, fear, duty, and the deeper meaning of life. Through Krishna's teachings, we will explore who we truly are, why we experience suffering, what happens beyond this temporary body, and how we can develop real peace and spiritual understanding. As we study each teaching, our goal is not simply to gain knowledge, but to understand it, apply it in our daily lives, and gradually transform our consciousness. Let us begin this beautiful journey with Krishna.
All right, picture this. We are standing on the edge of an ancient battlefield, and it is teetering right on the brink of total, catastrophic war. In today's explainer, we're diving into a text that captures an incredibly tense moment, literally seconds before two massive armies clash. But as we'll see, what looks like a straightforward, heroic roll call of warriors on the surface is actually masking a much deeper, darker message. It's a story about leadership, blind ambition, and ultimately, absolute ruin.
So it kind of makes you wonder, right? What happens when a battle cry, the exact sound that's supposed to hype up the troops and showcase incredible strength, is actually a death knell? It's a fascinating paradox. Today, we're going to unpack exactly how a seemingly standard event on a battlefield is actually hiding a profoundly tragic reality. Let's look at the evidence.
Section 1. The Sound of War. The battlefield erupts. Okay, so imagine this cinematic snapshot from the verses. You've got these two massive forces just staring each other down. The tension is so thick you could cut it with a knife. And then, the silence just shatters. The text describes this absolutely deafening roar of ancient conch shells echoing across the entire battlefield. But here's the catch. It wasn't just some generic unified horn blast. The text specifically notes that these shells were blown separately, individually, by each mighty warrior. It's this escalating, terrifying cacophony of sound, perfectly designed to strike pure fear into the opposition. It is the ultimate signal that there is absolutely no turning back now.
Moving on to Section 2. The roster of warriors, a roll call of epic fighters.
What really grabs me about this part is how personal it gets. We aren't just reading off a list of anonymous, faceless soldiers here. The source text gives us the exact names of the warriors and their uniquely named instruments. You've got King Yudhishthira blowing his very own conch shell named Ananta Vijaya, while his brothers Nakula and Sahadeva sound a Sugosa and Manu Pushpaka. It's like every major player has brought their own legendary, signature instrument to the field.
And the roster just keeps growing in prestige, building the hype. We see the King of Kasi, noted specifically as a great archer, alongside formidable fighters like Sikandi, Drishtajumna, and Virata. Then there's Satyaki, who the text explicitly calls unconquerable, followed by Drupada, the sons of Draupadi, and finally the mighty armed Abhimayuna. Just try to imagine the immense psychological weight of all these legendary fighters sounding their horns one after another. The tension is practically off the charts.
Which brings us to Section 3, decoding the hidden message below the surface of the roar.
Now, this brilliantly illustrates the iceberg model of this text. On the surface, what do we see? A grand, heroic roll call of mighty warriors proudly signaling that they are ready for battle. But when we dive into the analysis, we uncover this massive, devastating reality lurking just below the water. This sound isn't simply a battle cry, it is a chilling realization that this exact moment signifies the absolute doom of the entire Kuru dynasty. Essentially, every single blast of those personalized horns is sealing their tragic fate.
So how do we get from a battle cry to a death knell? Well, we have to look at the political context provided in the source. Enter Sanjaya. Sanjaya basically acts as the ultimate unfortunate messenger here, tasked with delivering catastrophic news to his blind, ambitious boss, King Dhritarashtra. Sanjaya is looking out at the battlefield, taking in this massive assembly of unconquerable foes, and he has to figure out how to explain to the king that their situation is, well, completely hopeless.
Just look at the phrasing in this quote from the text's analysis. It says, Sanjaya informed King Dhritarashtra very tactfully that his unwise policy of deceiving the sons of Pandu and endeavoring to enthrone his own sons on the seat of the kingdom was not very laudable. honestly not very laudable has to be the ancient equivalent of the ultimate corporate understatement. The king enacted a policy of outright deceit just to grab power for his own sons, and Sanjaya is tactfully trying to point out that, hey, this maneuver has completely and utterly backfired.
Section 4. The cost of bad leadership, when ambition erases a lineage.
The text makes it absolutely crystal clear what the signs on this battlefield really indicate. Because of this one policy of deceit, the entire Karu dynasty is going to be wiped off the map. Just look at the sheer breadth of this destruction. You have the oldest grandsire, Bhisma, all the way down to the youngest grandsons, like Abhimanyu. Even the kings from various states around the world who gathered to fight, every single one of them present on that field is doomed.
If we break it down, it's a terrifyingly simple domino effect based right on the source text. Step 1. King Dhritarashtra actively encourages his son's unwise policy of deceiving the Pandavas just to hold on to power. Step 2. In response, the opposing forces, all those unconquerable warriors we listed earlier, gather on the battlefield and blow their deafening horns. And Step 3. The inevitable result is the total annihilation of the Kuru dynasty. It is a direct, unbreakable chain reaction from political deception straight to absolute ruin.
In the text, it pulls zero punches when it comes to accountability. It lays the blame for the impending deaths of thousands and the erasing of entire lineages squarely at the feet of one ambitious leader. It states it so plainly. The whole catastrophe was due to King Dhritarashtra because he encouraged the deceitful policy followed by his sons. Those mighty warriors blowing their conches, they're really just the instruments of a destruction that was set in motion by bad leadership at the very top.
Which leaves us with a pretty heavy thought to reflect on as we wrap up this explainer. We started with the thrilling, heart-pounding sound of ancient horns on a battlefield. But as we decoded the text, we found a much darker reality. When leadership is blinded by ambition and relies on deceit to maintain power, who truly pays the price? As this ancient text shows us, it's never just the leader. It's the grandsires, the grandsons, and entire nations caught in the crossfire. It's a powerful, timeless warning that still resonates today. Thanks so much for joining me, and always remember to question what lies just below the surface.